Hey, and welcome back to Leia's Library. Find yourself a cozy corner, get yourself something nice and cozy to drink, and let's get started. Today we are going to be looking at some books that I am very excited to read in the new year, which is similar but different to my last video. So last video we went over new releases that I'm excited for this year, and this video is not about new releases. Some of these have been out for years. Some of them came out last year, and I just didn't have a chance to pick them up last year, so I'm going to be reading them this year. So these are 10 books that I am definitely going to read this year, and I am making that promise to myself. Hello. I am making that promise to myself, to the universe, to you, so someone will hold me accountable, because I am very bad at doing that myself. So yeah, these are ranked in no particular order, just whatever order I happen to think of them. So, let's get into it. And regrettably, the glasses must come back on again. It's just not the look. So, first on the list is Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong, which is a YA historical fiction fantasy. It is a spin-off of the These Violent Delight series, following one of the characters from that series, Rosalind Lang. So 4 years ago, Rosalind was brought back from the verge of death, and since then she has stopped sleeping and aging. She's desperate to redeem herself from the events that transpired in These Violent Delights, so she uses her newfound abilities as an assassin for her country. But when a series of murders that may be linked to the impending invasion of the Japanese Imperial Army happen, Rosalind is ordered to infiltrate their society and identify the culprit. In order to do so, she'll have to begrudgingly team up with another nationalist spy, Orion Hong, by pretending to be his wife. So, like I mentioned in my last video, I really like Chloe Gong as an author, and I really enjoyed These Violent Delights. I wasn't initially super excited. Once again, I can't figure out how I want to sit. Hold on. There we go. That's better. So, as I was saying, I wasn't initially super excited about this series because Rosalind was never my favorite character. But then I heard a mild spoiler, which may have actually been a giant spoiler, that was very intriguing. So I guess I'm actually going to have to read it now. This is also a sort of retelling of Shakespeare's As You Like It, and I do love a good retelling, so we'll see how it turns out. Next up is Lonely Castle in the Mirror by Tsujimura Mizuki, which is a YA magical realism. I love magical realism. So this is about 7 students who are avoiding going to school. They're hiding in their bedrooms, unable even to face their friends or family, until they each discover in their mirror a portal to another world that offers them a temporary escape from their own lives. In this other world, they all gather in a castle, and the only rule is that they must leave by 5 p.m. Otherwise, they risk being eaten by the Wolf Queen, who is the keeper of the castle. Furthermore, they are tasked with finding a key hidden somewhere in the castle that will grant the finder one wish. But when this happens, the castle will vanish along with all of their memories of it. So this was described as being very heartwarming, so hopefully that's true, because it already kind of sounds like it's gonna make me cry a lot, or at least want to, because I don't often physically cry when reading books, but hey, never say never. I really love emotional, heartwarming stories. So I am really excited to pick this one up. I ordered it in at my local library already, and I'm just waiting for it to arrive. I am number 1 on the list. So it just needs to get here. Just from the description, it's kind of giving me When Marnie Was Here vibes. The Ghibli movie, not the book. I haven't read the book. So that's extra exciting because I love Studio Ghibli, and Studio Ghibli movies always have this there's a particular vibe to Studio Ghibli movies, and I think this book also has that vibe. So yeah, I'm very excited to pick it up. Next on the list is Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki. which is an adult magical realism. So, after the 2011 tsunami, a novelist named Ruth discovers a Hello Kitty lunchbox washed up on the shore, and inside it is a diary. The diary belongs to a 16-year-old girl from Tokyo named Nao, who has decided to end it all after years of loneliness and bullying. But before she does, she wants to document the life of her great-grandmother, who is a Buddhist monk who's over 100 years old. As Ruth reads more and more about Nao's story, she is pulled into the past, into Nao's story and her unknown fate, as well as into Ruth's own future. So my friend Danny actually recommended that I read this book a while ago, and I was waiting for the right time, and I think it's now. I think the right time is now. I just spilled tea on my hand. That was hot. My friend Danny, by the way, if you are in the Varian and the Seven Kingdoms fandom, you probably already know who she is. I'll link her channel in the description of this video, and you can go over to her channel and listen to all the cool music that she writes. A lot of it is Varian and the Seven Kingdoms related, but she also has a bunch of other really cool music. And we're also working on a musical together that is based off of a play that I wrote a couple years ago, and she is doing all the music for it. So stay tuned for that, I guess. Anyway, back to the book. This one is currently sitting in my apartment. It probably won't be the next book I read, because two came in for me at the library at the same time, and one of them is much shorter, so I think I'm gonna breeze through the short one first, and then I'll get to this one. But so yeah, I'm going to be reading it soon. And it sounds like I will be in for a devastating time, and I am so ready. Next up is Under the Earth Over the Sky by Emma McCosh, which is a high fantasy, and it is about an ancient Fae king named Yomar, who finds an abandoned human baby on the border between the human and the Fae world and decides to take the child and care for him until a more suitable home can be found. And presumably hijinks ensue, but not in like a comedic way, in like a mysterious fairy way. Yeah. So this book was actually recommended to me by a viewer of the channel who left it in a comment under one of my videos. I think it was the found family video, because this has a found family in it. Like the guy literally finds a child, so you can't get more found family than that. So yeah, thank you for that. It's also been a long time since I read anything with Fae in it, and it's high time I get back to it. I especially love Fae that follow more of the like older mythology surrounding fairies, which this seems to. Can't tell for certain until I read it, but yeah, it just seems like very ethereal, and I'm very keen to learn more about this world, the fairy world, and how it works and how it's different from the human world and how they interact. And also just love the notion of this ethereal fairy monarch finding an abandoned baby and going, well, I guess I'm your father now. I love that energy. Next up is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield, which is an adult contemporary horror. This is about a woman named Miri, whose wife is a marine biologist or something. Whatever, some sort of scientist who needs to go underwater for some reason, because she goes on a deep sea mission with a group of other supposed scientists to study something. Only the mission goes terribly wrong, and Miri's wife does come back, but it soon becomes clear that she is not the same woman that she was before she went under the sea. I've been hearing about this book a lot, and when I first heard of it, I don't know why I don't know why I didn't immediately put it on my to be read list, because it sounds very creepy, and I do like very creepy, And it's also very gay, and I love that. Better later than never, I guess. Because I do fully intend to read it this year, and I am prepared to be excited and spooked. Next up is The First to Die at the End by Adam Silvera, which is a YA LGBTQ+ contemporary romance. This is a prequel to They Both Die at the End, which is one of my favorite books. Point final. This takes place at the very beginning of Deathcast. So for those who haven't read They Both Die at the End, Deathcast is a system that can predict when someone is going to die, and that person will receive a phone call 24 hours before their deadline to die. Deadline makes it sound like they have to do it themselves. No, before their foretold time of death, so that they can live their last 24 hours however they wish. So this story, this one, The First to Die at the End, follows two boys, I guess. I think the description called them boys. One is Orion, who signed up for Deathcast because he has a terminal heart condition. So he just kind of wants to know, he knows he's going to die from it eventually, so he would just like to know when his last day is going to be. The other boy is Valentino, who has just restarted his life as New York. He has a long and promising future ahead of him. And he only signed up after his twin sister nearly died in a car accident. The two meet and form an instant connection, but then the first round of the end day calls go out, so Deathcast makes its first ever calls, and one of them receives the call, meaning that one of them has only 24 hours left to live. So though neither of them know how the day will end, they decide to spend this last day together. So like I said, They Both Die at the End is one of my favorite books ever. I'll link the video to my favorite books down in the comments, although I'm already thinking of redoing that list. I mean, it's a new year. I feel like your favorite books change every year. So yeah, anyway, I thought They Both Die at the End was such a heartbreakingly beautiful story. I loved what it had to say, and I thought it was so wonderfully told. And with this prequel, I'm not sure what we're going to get, because it kind of sounds like the same story, to be honest. They Both Die at the End had a shockingly similar premise, except it was both boys received their end. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. Both boys received a call from Deathcast on the same day. So yeah, I feel like it's going to be kind of similar, but I will give it a chance because I loved They Both Die at the End so much. And I've mentioned before on this channel when I was talking about Under the Whispering Door, I'm okay if authors take a concept that they really like and make several stories about it from like slightly different angles, which this seems to be. Like, it is a very similar story, but it's slightly different. And I do think there are a lot of stories that you could tell with this Deathcast system. So yeah, I am definitely willing to give it a chance. It is actually currently waiting for me at the library. I need to go pick it up in like 4 days, otherwise they'll start charging me. I don't know if they'll actually charge me, but they say they'll charge me, and I don't want to let the library down. Next up is Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su Lin Tan, which is a YA mythology fantasy. This is a sequel to Daughter of the Moon Goddess, and I believe is the final. It was a duology, so this should be the final book. I thought Daughter of the Moon Goddess was very cute. It's just a very cute story with lots of interesting characters, and I'd forgotten it was a duology. So I got to the end and I was like, what? So I am excited to finish the series, and I feel pretty confident that it's going to be just as cute as the first one, so I'm looking forward to it. Daughter of the Moon Goddess, I didn't love it as much as I know some people did. I know this is a very beloved book to a lot of people. I didn't love it, but I still enjoyed it, and I have high hopes for the sequel. Next up is The Girl and the Ghost by Hanna Alkaf, which is a middle grade fantasy horror. So this follows a girl named Soraya, and Soraya has a witch grandmother who gifts her a pelicet, or a familiar spirit, and Soraya is absolutely delighted. She names her pelicet Pink, and the two quickly become inseparable. But Soraya soon finds out that pelicets have a darker side, and Pink's shadow threatens to swallow them both unless they can find enough light to survive. This one sounds a little spooky, sure, but also like it's going to hit really hard. It sounds like it's going to be another The Little Prince or The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, and I cannot wait. Next is Miss Percy's Pocket Guide to the Care and Feeding of British Dragons by Quenby Olson, which is a historical fantasy. We follow Miss Mildred Percy, who is quite content to be a spinster and general wallflower, until her uncle leaves her an inheritance that includes a dragon egg. When the egg hatches, Miss Mildred Percy must contend with raising a dragon and embarking on an adventure she never thought would have been hers. This just sounds so cute and cozy, especially cozy. This sounds like it's going to be a new excellent cozy read. I knew I had to read it as soon as I heard about it. From the title alone, like, books with titles that long, you just know they're gonna be good, right? I also just love cute dragons, and I need more dragons in my life, so this is excellent. And the last one on the list is Uprooted by Naomi Novik, which is a YA fantasy. So the main character of this book is named, she has the most YA name I've ever heard in my life, Agnieszka, I think? So it's about Agnieszka, who lives in a quiet village, but close to this village are the woods, a place full of malevolent power that casts a shadow over Agnieszka's quiet village. Only a wizard known as the Dragon can keep its power at bay, but this protection comes at a price. The dragon demands a young woman be handed over to him to serve him for 10 years. The next choosing is approaching, and it looks like the dragon will be coming for Agnieszka. So I recently heard about this book, and since I really like the Scalamat series by Naomi Novik, I wanted to read more of her work, and I thought this might have been fate. I'm not 100% sold on the description. It sounds a little too YA forced romance for me, but I will give it a shot and see how it goes. And those are all the books that I am definitely 100% going to be reading this year. Well, not all of them. I'm going to be reading more, but these ones definitely. Let me know what books you're planning on reading this year down in the comments. And if you'd like to find me elsewhere, you can find me on Instagram as Leia Like the Princess, where you can also find my little embroidery and art store, Moonlit Cat Creations, or you can go directly to its website at moonlitcatcreations.com. And until next time, stay cozy.